The truth is out there if you want to find it. And I got to tell you guys, the right's striking back. Bitch slapping those idiots about how stupid it is to have defunding police. What a bunch of shit. Watch this guy. I believe he's testifying in front of a Senate committee. His name is Rev.Darrel Scott. He's from the National Diversity Coalition for Trump. He's the CEO of that. This is wonderful. This is a pleasure to listen to here. Okay? You might use closed captions so you can see what he's saying. All right, here we go.
3 years now.
Sorry, wait, give me a second. 1 second, real quick. Okay, here we go.
I want to begin by stating that the prospect of defunding and or dismantling police forces across the country is one of the most unwise, irresponsible proposals by American politicians in our nation's history and makes absolutely no sense at all, at least to me. I believe it is nothing short of the politicizing of current social events in an effort to garner votes during this election season. I also believe that it's a reactionary measure that can and will result in short and long-term damage to American society, particularly in our inner city and urban communities. Now, I recognize the fact that the elimination of excessive force and physical retaliation by officers of the law against American citizens is paramount today. I recognize the fact that racial profiling and the harsh treatment of minorities is a very real reality that must be eliminated immediately. I myself can testify of times in my life when I felt racially profiled by police. I can testify of times in my life when I was pulled over for driving while black. I can testify of giving my grandson, who is now of driving age, the talk of how to properly behave if pulled over by police because he had the question of a very real fear of the possibility of death at the hands of police. In fact, my very first interaction with police when I was 13 years old resulted in me being roughed up. I could very easily have been George Floyd. George Floyd could have very easily been me, my brothers, my friends, or any number of any other black men in America. However, I do not recommend throwing the baby out with the bathwater by labeling all police officers as bad cops simply because of the bad actions of a rogue segment of those whose job is supposed to be to protect and to serve American citizens.
Right on.
In fact, in certain inner city communities across America, increased funding for police and increased police presence is actually necessary in order to enforce the law and to guarantee the safety and the security of law-abiding members of those communities. As one who was formerly in that street life years ago, I might be a pastor, but I didn't come down from heaven. I came up out of hell with the rest of everybody else. I was formerly in that street life. I know very much about the criminal element, and I can state definitively that the criminal element in and of society would enjoy nothing better than a reduction in police presence and police power. It would allow those with criminal intentions and criminal actions to flourish virtually unchallenged in the communities of America. The law-abiding members of society would be directly threatened by the absence of police or the inability of police to respond to criminal activities, and in many cases would endeavor to take the law into their own hands to ensure their safety and well-being, as evidenced by the response of some who decided to defend themselves and their property from vandalism. An absence of police presence could potentially give rise to acts of domestic terrorism, mob rule, gang rule, neighborhood intimidation, oppression, and vigilantism. Defunding of police departments has already happened in a number of American cities, and rather than remedying problems, has actually made conditions much worse.
I think one of the suburbs outside of Chicago, they did that too. Like Sherwood Forest, something like that.
city of Cleveland, my hometown, is a prime example of the results of police defunding. In 2004, the city of Cleveland laid off 285 officers. The entire police budget was slashed by 31%. To cover basic services, the following units were either disbanded or cut forever. The district strike force units, the narcotics unit was completely cut. SWAT was downsized. The fugitive unit was disbanded. The auto theft unit was disbanded. The intelligence unit was cut to bare bones. The mounted unit was cut 85%. The aviation unit was...
Jerry Nadler is sleeping. Jerry Nadler, he's sitting right next to Jim Jeffries. He's sleeping. He's dead out. It's funny, man.
Down completely for 3 years and is now only utilized during special events. The harbor unit was disabled. The boat sits rotting in a dry dock. The scientific investigation unit was cut 80%. All the lab techs were let go. All evidence collection is now done by priority. The DARE problem, the drug abuse resistance education program, was cut. Community policing was cut 45%. Cleveland went through a decade-long downsizing, which saw the department reduced from 1,900 officers to 1,500 officers on average. Zone car coverage, which directly affects citizens, has been cut. Police presence in any given district or in any given shift has been cut in half. 1- and 2-man units have been cut in half. Response time is dramatically longer if the police show up at all. The murder rates have climbed. The property crime is at record levels. Aggravated robbery statistics are higher. Drug sales, drug use, drug abuse is higher. Drug and alcohol-related motor vehicle accidents are the highest they've ever been. Cleveland has went from a relatively safe city per capita to an unbelievably unsafe city. Calls for service have increased even though the population has dropped significantly over the last 20 years.
I'm gonna go ahead and let you watch the rest of this. It's fucking awesome. The link will be below. I just want to add one more thing. Nancy Pelosi, when she was introducing this legislation, her Policing Reform Act or whatever, she was saying that the military are giving their leftover stuff, like their ARVs and stuff like that, their APVs. They're giving that to the police departments. And sure enough, man, even when my dad was still alive, we started seeing things we never would thought we'd ever see ever. When my dad was still alive, he died in 2001, the police started wearing black uniforms. And we didn't like that. My dad didn't like that. That's what they used to wear in Nazi Germany. He saw it with his own eyes, okay? The other three things that she talked about that I agree with was the stopping the use of the chokeholds and the required use of cameras on the cops. I like that. And obviously, you know, the idea that police are supposed to be equal with everybody. Yeah, we expect that, lady. That's where she went over that's where she throws a monkey wrench in, you know. She lists a couple of things that are good, and right alongside of it in stride, you know, oh yeah, and by the way, the police are fucking, you know, they're racist, basically, you know. This guy's saying, no, they're not racist, and don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We need the police, okay? All right, it's 5:30 p.m. in 10th of June, 2020. Marty Warner reporting from Livonia, Michigan. Tucker Carlson going to be coming up pretty soon.